Hi, everybody. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. We're going to talk about why you should attend Keep Indiana Learning's virtually different conference this year on July 13th and 14th. We think it is a hidden gem and people need to know more about it. So, my fellow digital learning coaches with Keep Indiana Learning, we're going to be talking to you about our favorite things and the high points we think you need to know. I'm Diana Knox. I'm from Clay Community Schools. Melissa, we'll just go around the circle.
I'm Melissa Wally. I'm with Hanover Community Schools.
Hi, I'm Shannon Quigley. I'm with Fort Wayne Community Schools.
Bo Gibson. I'm with Lagodi Community Schools.
All righty. So first of all, with the conference, as with any great conference, you've got keynotes. This conference, 2 days, has 4 keynote addresses, one each morning of the conference and one each afternoon. And so we're going to tell you a little bit about the keynotes in case you don't know. The first one is Dr. Sarah Brown. Dr. Sarah Brown is the co-author of the book Effective Universal Instruction, which we've been talking an awfully lot about with Keep Indiana Learning this year. I think there was a book study or a book highlight, if I remember right, through the ESCs and Keep Indiana Learning. And everybody that I've talked to says that this is a fantastic book. Everybody should read it. It's on my list. Haven't got there yet. So Dr. Sarah Brown's going to give an opening keynote that is going to talk about the premises behind her book and some of those high points. So I think that's going to be a really exciting option for everybody.
Okay, so next we have Justin, Mr. Fascinate Schaefer. And Justin sounds super interesting. He's new to me. His topics include the importance of diversity in STEM, the future of technology, how to lead Generation Z, which that alone sounds like something I would love to learn about. Why STEM is dope. Bring STEM to class, a practical guide for educators, and building a diverse metaverse. So I think what interests me is that the way that it sounds like he's going to take all of the STEM topics and bring it down to what would make sense to students. And then the quote from Forbes is step aside Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson. Justin J. Schaefer is the emerging STEM personality we need to hear. So I think that alone makes me want to tune in and pay attention.
Those are 2 iconic names that are from my generation. Yeah. So yeah, if we're going to compare him there, this sounds awesome.
Yeah.
It sounds fascinating.
Exactly.
Prepare to be fascinated. Well, I'm super excited about the other keynotes. Those 2 that you just mentioned, but also when I heard this one, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of geeking out a little bit because if you are familiar with Jennifer Gonzalez of The Cult of Pedagogy, she has an amazing podcast that has super relevant topics in education. I think a couple of years ago, maybe a year or so ago, there was one that was sort of viral online about teacher retention and what teachers really need to support instruction. So if you go to her website, you can see a ton of different topics that she has, but it's a conversational type of podcast that I just will put on it when I'm driving from school to school in my car or if I'm out for a walk, because there are things that I think you will find relevant in the way she approaches them are just, like I said, relatable. And then what I love about this conference is not only does she have a keynote, but she also has some sessions that will be available. And I think some of the other keynotes do as well. So you get a chance not just to hear them in room, but also in some breakout supporting sessions too.
All right, so our other keynote is Ken Williams, and Ken is one that I'm really not familiar with, but I've been doing some research. I've actually got his website pulled up in a separate tab here, and his tagline, for lack of a better word, is heart, humor, and hammer. So I'm excited to see how that all kind of ties together. But according to the bio here, so he's been a practitioner for nearly 3 decades. He's very experienced, and it seems like he is very accomplished. He's authored or co-authored several best-selling books. So he is focusing on leveraging professional learning communities. And let's see here. There was one other item that I really wanted to make sure I mentioned. duo, disruptor, a warm demander, and an unapologetic identifier of elephants in the room. He sounds like a super interesting character, very accomplished, like I said. I'm really interested in that keynote.
If he can help us navigate those tricky conversations that we all need to have,
Mm-hmm.
but are uncomfortable for us, I think that would be a powerful piece to get some more insight on.
Right, exactly.
And then any conference has the general sessions, and so this has the sessions don't start until 8:45. So your opening keynote is going to be 8:45 to 10 every morning. Then you're going to have a quick break to grab another cup of coffee, and then the breakout sessions start. And you're going to see some familiar faces that you may have seen from the Keep Indiana Learning digital learning coaches, and then other people that are recognizable. Let's see. One session I'm really excited about is two of our fellow coaches, Amy and Jen. They're going to be presenting the top untricky tech tips for educators. Say that 3 times fast. But I got a little sneak peek at some of their ideas last week, and I think it's going to be a fantastic session for teachers. I am going to be presenting. I submitted on a whim. I know something that is a conversation all the time in our district is student choice. And it doesn't have to be just student choice in terms of what they're going to do, but we're going to talk about all facets of student choice as it kind of applies to UDL. So give them a choice of time and pace and how they express their learning. And so there's just lots of different things there that if you haven't started to explore that and you're a little unsure, this Friends fan has titled it the one where they talk about student choice.
I love it.
I saw that title. I was wondering if we were going for a Friends theme there or what. We'll get them some Friends tie-ins.
I think there'll be some Friends tie-ins. I admit that's a new session for me, so I've got to still work on that one. But what was it? 25 years ago? I think it was maybe 20 years ago that Friends aired for the last time, like last week. So my nostalgic Friends heart was thinking about how old Emma would be, and
it makes me feel old there, but
yeah. Shannon, you're presenting, right?
Yeah, so I will be presenting on how to kind of remix how you use the DOK in your lessons. So kind of thinking, how do we get kids engaged in the learning right away so we don't lose them to other distractions almost in there, and kind of thinking differently about how kids can learn in our classroom. So really the session it's interactive, it's fun. It's just a way to start saying like, how can I remix kind of how instead of starting with direct instruction, let's get kids diving into some productive struggles, seeing what they know, and then adjusting instruction from there. So should be a fun session. I didn't have as clever of a name as the Friends reference, but hopefully you'll still get some good stuff out of it.
I love that topic.
Yeah, student engagement is such a hot topic.
Yeah,
for teachers.
I'm just thinking from my math standpoint, so many times, it's kind of, we start with lecture, then we do these low DOK problems, and by the time you get to the higher DOK problems, kids are checked out because they're bored and already kind of lost interest. So I think flipping that on its head and presenting problems where they get to think and tinker and play right off the bat, it really does a lot of good. So interesting. That'd be one I would be very interested in.
Awesome.
Hey, and speaking of your math, one of the sessions that I saw, because I don't speak that math language all the time, but my friend Melissa Bardock is going to be doing a session on math minds and building thinking classrooms. So I think that is kind of another topic I've been seeing a lot. They have the Building Thinking Classrooms conference for Keep Indiana Learning at the end of June. So that would be kind of a little preview of things to come, I'm sure. So
yeah, that's
another one. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Shannon. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, in addition to that, I saw one other session that Brenny Coomer was offering, the UDL and accessibility session. And I think I'm really interested in that because that's something that our district has really just started exploring and talking about how we can be more equitable for all of our students, and kind of thinking, I feel like maybe UDL in some ways got this wrapped around, just for students with who need the accommodations, rather than thinking about how we can approach those accommodations for all and improve the learning outcomes. So I'm interested. She's kind of one of the leading experts in the state, I would say, on that topic. So I'm super excited to get a chance to hear her present.
Shannon, it's like, I know we're in different parts of the state, but your district is having the exact same conversations mine is. So I
Mine
think
too.
we're going to be exploring. And yeah, Brittany, I think their district's been a UDL district for like 10 years. So she has so much knowledge and insight to bring to that topic. So that's going to be a great one.
Yeah, and these are just a few of the sessions. So I can't wait to see all of the sessions and be able to, really dive in to see what's being offered. I think the good thing about it is that you don't have to really pick and choose which ones you want to go to, because unlike a typical conference, this conference is virtually different because you really do get to benefit from all of the sessions. Maybe not that day, but when you purchase and attend and register for this conference, you get an entire year access to the content. So for that entire year, you can go back and watch the sessions, you can rewatch. And I think that that's one of the biggest benefits, because the first time you watch Brenny's session on UDL and accessibility, you might watch it, but then if you go back and rewatch it, you might get something different out of it. So I think that is alone it makes, I think the cost is like $35. I think that alone makes it worth it, because, that's something that you don't typically get. Typically,
How many times do you come home from a conference and you've taken notes furiously and then you think, oh, how exactly did they put that? And
right?
You're going to have these recordings that you can go back and watch later. So
Right. I usually feel fortunate if I have a link to the presentation, but even that, you don't have what that person said. And this, you can actually go back and watch and rewatch. So you're going to have, 2 days of the actual conference with those 4 keynotes, but then also you have that whole year's access to the recordings. And when I think back to the way I might have digested something a whole year ago to the way I might do it now, that I think is so helpful. So I think that makes it a really reasonable price when you think about that on top of it. The other part, I think, is that lends itself to like flexible attendance, because you have 2 days of the conference, but we know things come up or something might happen, especially if you're attending virtually. You might have children, or you might have something come up and you all of a sudden can't tune in or can't be as attentive. But knowing that then you can go back and rewatch, I think that takes some of that pressure off. So I love that part of it. And so that brings down that pressure of like, well, I paid for this, I'm registered, I have to be fully attentive and fully engaged. But knowing that, I think helps. And go ahead.
I was gonna say, I just did some quick math. I think there's like 40 or plus different breakout sessions to choose from. And so inevitably at a conference, there's 2 sessions at the same time that you want to go to. Mm-hmm. So if you are going to watch it in person, which there's value in that too, because you can interact with the different attendees and the speaker and ask questions. But I love that virtual flexibility, because then maybe something comes up, or the 2 sessions at the same time, I still get access to all the sessions I want.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, I just think that that's such a benefit that you don't normally have. And then, as the year goes on, the digital coaches, we tend to roll out some package DIY PD guides. And so I'm sure we're going to have some PD guides that go along with these sessions that, maybe with the UDL, Brenny's UDL, or Shannon's DOK session, we might create a PD guide that then school leaders could use for their staff. So wouldn't that be nice if we created a PD guide based on the information that came from that session? So if you're a school leader, here's some content that will give you that direct information that would help lead your session. So even if, that it's just a little tidbit there that would help guide you in the most up-to-date information.
Speaking of those PD guides, one of our fellow coaches who was going to attend tonight and ended up she couldn't join us, she made a gift that we're going to share with you, which is a note-taking document that is designed and branded for the Virtually Different conference. And so it's going to be a resource that they're going to put in the link of this video and we'll share out. And it has places where you can put some different contacts. You've got links that you can add if you would like. You can put some notes. And so it's just a fun little note-taking document that's going to add a little pizzazz to your day if you're going to be attending the Virtually Different conference. So our fellow coach, Nicole, she did a great job of putting this together.
Mhm. Yeah. Yes.
One thing that my team has we talked about this, I shared the email when the registration went out too, is that there's so many great conferences in our state, but I can't physically get to all of them because either they're far and we're, even though it's summer and our roles we're busier in the summer sometimes than the school year. So this will allow us to kind of hear and learn while we're, even though you could have the conference up on one screen while you're working on things on another, or just be listening. So it just makes it so much more approachable than maybe some of the other things that feel out of reach.
And Shannon, what I like is, you could have that up and listening, and, if something piques your interest, you can kind of bookmark that and come back to it later because, you can rewatch those at a later date.
Mhm.
I know if I'm in the summer, I'm not going to implement these tomorrow, but I can watch the sessions and think in my head, oh, this was something I want to implement in my class. I'm going to watch this in August and come back to it. Which is really awesome that you kind of get that rewatchability, you get that year's access. Because for me as a teacher, if I'm going to implement a thinking classrooms model, let's say, and that's new to me, I'm going to be focused on that one thing, right? And then if I feel like I'm comfortable with that come November, and now I want to start thinking about student choice, like what Diana's presenting, well, then I can watch that session whenever I'm ready for it, and I don't have to try to fill my brain with all this stuff all at once and then wait 2 months to actually implement it, which is, to me,
That's a
pretty awesome.
fantastic point.
Mhm.
I know in the past couple of years, I've attended every year that they've had this, and it's always been interesting because inevitably at some point during the year, my boss and I will be having a chat and I'll be like, wait, I have a resource on that. And I can go back and find the video and we can pull what we need that's just in time information for us. So having access to that at the drop of a hat is fantastic.
Yeah, that is an awesome feature, I will say.
Yeah. And it's been vetted, it's quality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that, man, I feel very fortunate to be an educator in Indiana
Mhm.
because of the support that we get from our DOE and from Keep Indiana Learning. When you think about this is the third year that Keep Indiana Learning has been in existence. This is the third year of the coaches. This is the third year of this conference. And they're always just on the cutting edge of really trying to anticipate the needs and what our educators want. And so I think this Virtually Different conference it's a great tool in our toolbox.
Yeah, definitely an asset.
Yep, for sure.
Okay, well, I think that we have shared all of our favorite things about the conference. We have shared the high points. Can anybody think of anything else that we may have forgotten to mention?
Well, just if they go to keepindianalearning.com/summer, that's how they can register. So we'll probably put that in the comments or the chat as well. But make sure you get over there and do that because you don't want to miss out on this good stuff.
Absolutely. And let me flash that up there real quick. I did not get that done. So it'll be in the comments of the video, and follow what they're doing on Twitter because they're sharing little tidbits about the conference. And I am sure as the conference gets closer, they're going to start sharing more. We shared about the keynotes, but we shared about a few breakout sessions, but there's a whole lot more that they're going to highlight. This is definitely worth $35 because if you think about $35 for 4 keynotes, 40 plus sessions, that's a great bang for your buck.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of things on Twitter. I've seen some things come across, little snippets of information, but whatever social media platform you use, that you'll find information there, I'm sure.
It's everywhere. Be where you are.
I'm getting that link for the conference sent out right now. And
And
so we are
works
so grateful that you joined us today. We hope that you take advantage of this opportunity. Talk to your districts. I think that your district would think this is a good value. That if one or a team of you, and if you get enough people, there is a discount for teams, and I don't remember what that is right now, but $35 is a great option for some summer learning that really can be learning anytime.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you for our next broadcast.
Thank you.
See you later.
Hey, guys.